15 Tips for Your Wealth. Chapter 2. They look like millionaires, but they're drowning in debt. What you don't realize is that many of the people who flaunt their fancy cars, designer clothes, and expensive dinners actually have none of that. They're just renting a lifestyle to impress others. But at the end of the month, they're crushed by debts they'll never be able to pay off. And here's the worst part. This trap is closer to home than you think. Today, I'm going to reveal the hidden dangers behind this dangerous game, explain why living for appearances could be destroying your finances, and most importantly, I'm going to show you how to escape this trap and build real wealth. If you've ever felt the pressure to appear richer than you really are, if you've ever spent money on something just to impress others, then this video will change your mindset forever. But be warned, the truth I'm about to tell you may be uncomfortable, and maybe even painful, but it's the key to your financial freedom. Get ready to see the money game in a way no one has told you before. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could save you years of frustration and debt. Have you ever stopped to think about the impact that the way you handle money has on your life? How financial decisions, big or small, directly influence your freedom and well-being. The story of James, an ordinary worker in the United States, may be closer to your reality than you think. For years, James lived with the mentality that money was something that simply appeared when needed, without planning or worrying. He spent it on whatever he wanted at the time, without thinking about the consequences. His vision was far from smart money management and wealth building. James was no different from many people who, throughout their lives, believe that money is an external force that cannot be controlled or planned. His focus was on immediate gratifications. He bought the latest car, went out to dinner at expensive restaurants, and did not think about the consequences of these choices. Until one day, like any other, something happened that would change everything. James lived in a small house in the suburbs and worked as an administrative assistant in a large company. His income was average, but his consumer mindset was what was holding him back from achieving anything more meaningful. Every month, he spent more than he earned, thinking that a loan here and an impulse purchase there wouldn't make a dent in his life. Little did James know that over time, this mindset was taking him further away from financial freedom. Each unplanned purchase took him further away from his future and closer to a reality full of debt. That's when he began to realize that debt was no longer a temporary situation. He was shocked to look at his bills and see the mounting amount of debt on his credit cards and personal loans. The sense of freedom he thought he had from spending without worry was turning into a burden. He felt like he was getting stuck in a never-ending cycle where his personal finances were spiraling out of control. One day, James got a call from a childhood friend, Matt, who had become a financial advisor. They talked for a few hours, and Matt asked a question that James had never stopped to think about. "James, what is your plan for the future? What are you doing to build something real and lasting?" This question was the wake-up call James needed. For the first time, he realized that he had no financial plan, that his finances were being guided only by impulses and immediacy. He needed to change his mindset and start treating money as something that should work for him, not the other way around. Building wealth didn't happen by chance, but by conscious choices. Matt continued, "Did you know that the biggest obstacle between people who achieve financial independence and those who get stuck in the debt cycle is financial education? You don't have to be rich to start, but you do need to understand how money works and how it can work for you." These words touched James deeply. He had never seen money that way. To him, it seemed like money was just there to be spent. Now he was beginning to see that the secret was investing in the future. Matt suggested that James start learning about financial literacy. Financial literacy is the key to making smart money decisions and getting out of the debt trap, Matt said. James was surprised to realize how much he didn't know about the basics of money management. It wasn't just about cutting expenses, but understanding the value of investing in what really matters. Investing in yourself, your knowledge, and your financial freedom is the best use of your money, Matt concluded. The seed was planted. James felt a motivation he had never experienced before. He knew that in order to achieve financial freedom, he needed to change the way he thought and acted. He began researching how to start investing and looking for passive income options. When we talk about smart investing, it's not about making a quick buck, but rather about building a solid foundation for the future through mutual funds, real estate, or even continuing financial education. In the following days, James began to look for information about personal financial planning. He read articles about how most people live trapped in consumerism and how this can be fatal for those who want to achieve financial independence. Over time, he understood that smart spending decisions do not mean giving up the pleasure of living, but rather prioritizing what really matters. He began to cut unnecessary expenses, such as that monthly subscription to services that he never used and the expensive clothes that were soon forgotten in the back of the closet. James realized that good personal financial planning starts with organization. He made a list of all his monthly expenses and began to track each one, understanding where he could cut back and how he could invest the savings. He also opened a savings account for emergencies, starting to build what he called his safety fund. With this attitude, he felt like he was taking control of his financial life. But as James soon learned, simply cutting expenses was not enough. He needed to start investing. What you can do with what you already have is what really matters, he thought. From then on, he began to look for ways to invest in assets that could generate returns over time, instead of consuming liabilities that would lead to debt. James bought books on personal finance, took courses on smart investments, and started following the financial market. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but over time, the fruits of this decision would begin to appear. James began to look at the stock market, real estate funds, and fixed income as ways to multiply his money. He educated himself on the risks and rewards of each type of investment, and soon felt more confident about putting his first investments into practice. Over time, he realized that the key to success was patience and consistency. James understood that more than a quick sprint, building wealth is a long-term game. Now, before continuing with James' journey, stop for a moment and reflect on your own financial life. If you feel like you're stagnating or missing out on opportunities to grow financially, give this video a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take the opportunity to subscribe and watch all of our videos on how to improve your money management, learn how to build wealth, and achieve true financial freedom. As James took the first steps on his new financial journey, he began to realize the difference between living for appearances and living with financial purpose. He no longer needed to impress anyone with things that, deep down, weren't important to him. He stopped worrying about renting luxury cars for temporary impressions or making impulse purchases to fill a void. Now he was focused on more essential things: his education, his savings, his investments. James began to realize that money is a powerful tool, but only when used well, with focus and planning. Now more than ever, he felt that the real value of money was not in what you own, but in what you can create with it. James began to see money as an extension of his freedom, not as a prison. He learned that true financial freedom lies in making choices that allow you to live the life you want, without being tied down by the pressure of debt or unbridled consumerism. As the months went by, James made a great discovery. True financial freedom does not lie in having more money, but in knowing how to make money work for you. He did not need a salary increase to start feeling the difference in his life. With a mindset of smart investments and conscious choices, he began to build his own financial empire without depending on anyone. James did not become rich overnight, but step by step, he began to see his life change in a sustainable and real way. He finally understood that true wealth is built over time, with smart choices and consistency. With each new learning about money management, James felt more prepared to face the financial world with confidence. He shared his new discoveries with friends and family, and soon many began to seek his advice. James was becoming an example of change, of someone who had previously been living without financial direction and was now in control of his future. He learned that financial education is not just about numbers, but about the mindset and attitude you adopt when dealing with money, the way you choose to live and spend, the way you deal with your financial mistakes, and the way you prepare for the future define true financial freedom. At the end of the year, James looked back and saw how his life had changed. He had overcome his fear of making the right financial decisions, started investing in mutual funds, and gradually saw his earnings grow. James was no longer the same person. He had become someone with a wealth mindset, and now knew that true luxury lies in having the freedom to live the way you choose, without the pressure of depending on an image or material things. He had something much more valuable: control over his own financial life. And this is what we want you to take away with you. Control over your financial life starts with the right mindset. By educating yourself financially and making conscious decisions, you can achieve a level of financial freedom that goes far beyond what appearances may show. If you are ready to change your mindset and achieve financial independence, start now. Don't wait another day to take control of your financial life. Start with small steps and commit to your journey. Now more than ever, James feels like he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. He knows that true wealth is not in momentary impressions, but in building a lasting legacy. And he is sure that anyone can get there. They just need to take the first steps with financial education and the commitment to transform their financial life. And you? What are you going to do today to start your journey towards financial freedom? James was stuck in a cycle of bad choices, but he took the first step to change his life. And do you know what happened? He not only managed to get out of debt, but he built wealth in a solid and sustainable way, achieving the financial freedom he had dreamed of. If James, who started out in the same scenario as many of us, managed to turn things around, why wouldn't you be able to do it too? The key is financial education and the power to make smart choices. The first step is the most important, and you can take that step now. Don't let distractions and fear of failure paralyze you. Remember, your financial mindset will shape your future. If you follow the principles James applied, you too can achieve financial independence and build a more prosperous future. Are you ready to get started? Take the first step now, sign up, turn on notifications, and start on the path to money management that will transform your life. Change begins when you decide to take action. Let's go together on this journey of financial transformation.